What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to the Nerd Castle for another episode of Gnomoria. We are about to trip over right here. Watch it as it counts down. This is the end of our year. We're about to go into year 3, starting with, actually, never mind. We're going into winter, I think, but we're not going to go into year 3 until somewhere around the middle. I don't know how gnomish seasons work, whatever. Anyways, as I was saying, we just bypassed another season. It is now winter. As you can see, we have loads of food, loads of drink. I've bypassed a few days, simply doing some of the exploratory mining that I didn't think you guys were going to be interested in. Thus far, still no luck with iron, which is becoming kind of a major thorn in our side. This is a really, really bad thing, guys. We're in rough shape right now if we can't find ourselves a little bit of iron, and unfortunately, it's looking like that is going to be the case. So, as it stands right here, did a little mining down here, still having them mine out some of this lead right here, since I figured that's the best that we can get at the moment. I'm going to try and grab a fistful of lead. We'll use that later on to make musket shots and things of that nature. We may also make some sledgehammers out of it. You guys had suggested that sledgehammers and warhammers are actually better if they're made out of lead. I had no idea. That's one of those little niche pieces of information that I had no idea that your hammers being made out of lead would make them better. I mean, lead is really, really soft, so I would feel like if I swung a lead hammer at somebody, it might dent my hammer. I mean, yes, indeed, it will be quite dense and it will hurt like hell when it hits them. But on the other end of the spectrum, I don't feel like we could keep it in shape as well as we might hope. So anyways, I learned that, so thank you for bestowing that information upon me. We may end up, since so many of our guys are using warhammers anyways, like our entire crew is using warhammers, I'm thinking I should have gone with shallow ores too. That's the other part that I forgot to talk about. I should have gone with shallow ores. I think I made a major mistake by going for deep ores, because as it stands right now, it's just like, oh my god, there are so many layers. We're like a little kid in winter, just way too many layers. And so, what we want to do during this episode is I'm thinking that we've just been digging in all the wrong spots. I'm going to try in this episode not to spend too much time doing exploratory mining, because I realize that's kind of boring. I may do like 10 minutes of it in between each round, because frankly it stops us from building, and when you're putting in all these torches and whatnot, it's also a fairly large drain on our resources. We had a merchant that came by while I was playing on my own here. I sold him pretty much all the jewelry we had on hand to get an extra 600 food, another like 300 drinks, and then we got 2 nomads. So let's take a look and see what they're going to do for us. It looks like we've got a pair of ladies coming in. Let's have a look here. And so we've got Hidak and Eto. And so with Hidak, we're going to take a look at her skills, and we're going to figure out what Hidak is good at. Hidak appears to be a woodworker, which actually might work out to our benefit. However, appears to be reasonably decent at farming too, so obviously I think we're going to go with farmer right there. Because honestly, we've lost 2 farmers in the last 2 seasons, so I want to make sure that some of these guys are reassigned to be useful. And I think we're going to have, ooh, fitness. Okay, so this individual is probably a miner. Yeah, I was going to say, looking at the fitness score, almost always when they have a fitness score that high, they're manual laborers of some sort. And in fact, he's pretty widely skilled. In fact, if you look at his skill ratios, he's pretty good at just about everything. We could assign him to do pretty much anything that we wanted at this point. I think with where we're sitting right now, it might be a good idea. I don't know if I should add him to the defense force and give us a 5th gnome that's ready for war. I don't know. It's a tough call right now. I mean, not very good at fighting. For all that fitness, not very good at fighting. Doesn't have amazing weapon skills. Pretty much couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with any weapon. Okay with guns, strangely enough. Okay with axes as well. Nimbleness is alright. Well, this is one of those individuals that I don't really know what to do with him, because we're pretty much solid on miners. We really, really, really don't need any more miners. And so what I think I'm going to do is I may call him a woodcutter, because we haven't had enough of them running around either. Can woodcutters build? I might also add construction to the woodcutter queue. And that was probably a bad idea. Let's go woodcutter, and then for our professions menu here, I think I'm going to modify woodcutter to include building as well. His carpenters, in my experience, know how to build stuff quite well. So we'll add construction to the list right there, because I have also noticed one of those other little things that kind of been jumping out at me is that little dudes haven't been able to get much done lately. Oh, and I should probably give an attack order on that honey badger just to get it out of the way so everybody can migrate back to where they came from. It'll give us a little bit of extra meat too, and this will allow us to protect some of our other forces. I think it's going to try and run away first, but we should be able to wipe it out really, really quickly. And so there it is. Dead honey badger, 150% water. How is that even possible? How can you have more than 100% water? I mean, 100% means you're filled to capacity. If the volume of that location is 150%, that means we have some major pressurization issues going on. Some very serious physics problems occurring that we should probably look into. The lake's about to explode! You have lost 5 gnomes due to a lake explosion. Who knew that in Nompton the lakes were explosive? Who knew? Well, let's go back down to our resident mining project here. I know you guys are probably grimacing every time I come down here at this point, but it has to be handled. Let's place a few more torches, and I think for the remainder of this episode, we may try and do things topside that are a little bit more interesting. Let's see here. Let's drop some torches in play, and we need one right here in this corner too, which is lame, but we'll do it anyways. We don't have a ton of logs right now because the merchant from the Lag Kingdom, that's why he takes so long. He's so busy just artifacting all over the place and ghosting that he just can't get here. He's like teleporting all over the place. Nobody can kill him. Everybody's getting frustrated because the lag equalization is favoring him too heavily. He's wiping out all his opponents. Just like, no! Terrible netcode is terrible. Anyways, the merchant from the Rag Kingdom didn't bring very much wood with him last time, which was kind of a big problem for us because once again our wood stocks are a little bit less than satisfactory. I'm finding that as we play through here, more and more, we should probably, I think this birch grove, I told it not to be felled right now, but I should probably put that back on the list to be felled. Simply because I think we've got enough saplings to go around to replant everything, I think. Maybe? No, we can't replant it. Well, we're gonna chop it down anyways because we need the wood at the moment. I also bought a few more yaks, so we're good there. We've got we've got a male and 3 females. Anything here that is born will go into the surplus yak field. We'll butcher it. That'll give us a bunch of hides and also a bunch of meat so that we can continue making sandwiches and all of that fun stuff, because who doesn't like a sandwich every now and again? I always feel like sandwiches are one of those multi-purpose foods that everybody loves. I could be completely and totally wrong, but there's something to love in a sandwich for just about everyone, I think, depending on who you are, what meats you enjoy, whether it be the turkey or the roast beef-a-leaf-a-leaf. I think I'm gonna go with, let's build ourselves some new walls here. And it's gonna be a marble wall. And we're gonna have this run out this way to give us a little bit more building space. We're gonna remove the ramp right here. And basically, you guys had said something along the lines of wanting to see me build across topography because it might look more interesting, and it'll save me the time of having to wipe out hills. I agree. I think we're gonna go with that right now. It's been a long time since I built a city that wasn't on an utterly flat, kind of expansive area, and I think it'll be a fun little exercise to see if we can get that taken care of. So, I'm going to acquiesce to the demands, and we're going to go ahead and just kind of build across the terrain. I may actually, even if I really want to get interesting, build across this hill right here. I might start the wall over on this side before I do such a thing, but it might be kind of cool to put little houses and things up in the caves in here. That'd be kind of interesting. People dwelling in caves and things like that. Be very, very awesome. Kind of little hobbit houses, I guess, would be the way that I would describe them. And let's continue building. How about that? I'm going to go with terrain, back to wall, and we're going to get the stone wall nice and queued up. And let me get on the proper layer here. And as we go along, we're going to build down over to here. Ah, we're already in good shape. That's fun. Okay. And I can see if we can build a piece of wall right there and a piece of wall right there. I don't know if it's going to work out the way we want it to, but we can try. And then in this case, we'll go ahead and swing out this way. And I'd like to get this lined up as well as I can with the remainder of our base. I think I've got that lined up improperly. I know that I do. Oh no, I've got it lined up right. What do you know? Well, I think the next thing we're going to do then is we're going to fell some trees over here. Just to make sure we have a little bit of extra space. This is going to give us a bunch more building room so that we can get out and in here. Mrs. Woods cannot find a path. Okay. Cancels job, can't find path. I'm not really sure what job she was looking at. My guess is that it's one of these building jobs right here. These two are now bouncing off of each other, so I may cancel these outright. See, there's still a lot of problems left over with kind of the way the building AI works. It gets very, very confused a lot of the time. And so when that tends to happen, I try to sort it out as best I can, but there's only so much you can do in a lot of these cases. It's like, well, you do the best you can with what you have. And so this is going to be a construction episode, as well may be the next few episodes where I try and get some houses built, some things like that. I haven't really decided what I want the domiciles to look like yet. There's always kind of a motif that I like to have running over the course of, you know, a building project. And I think if we can get it looking kind of sexy and kind of identifiable as Nompton, that'll be really fun too. So part of what I'm thinking as possibly making everything have castellations, or maybe just kind of making everything roundish. I mean, as you can tell with this building, I made it sort of rounded. I might make everything kind of rounded, make my gnomes, and I realize the walls aren't like that right now, but they will be later on. We're also going to replace these once we have the time with brick walls so that they look a little bit nicer. Right now we're just using stone walls and they're kind of ugly. We do what we can with what we have at the moment. I don't want to waste the massive amount of build power that it would take in order to ensure that all of this ended up, you know, as block walls. It'll be worth a lot of money once we get it done as well, and it'll be a massive expansion of our kingdom worth too. So I think what I may do now is I may break this down and put the training field over here to guarantee that anybody that's out in this region doing building projects will be safe. Who's building what where? Oh, you guys were right. That's very, very, not to say that I doubted you, but they do automatically build the floors now. That's fun. So that actually makes my life a little bit easier in the grander scheme of playing Gnomoria. They'll place the floors now. That's really cool. I don't know why they don't like that job so much. I don't think they like to build from the ramp, and I don't think they're being smart enough to go around this way. Yeah, they're not going... They could go around this way and do the job very, very easily, and they're choosing not to. What I may try to do then is let's get rid of that ramp right there, and let's see if that frees it up. So that they can't step on that space, and it forces them to go all the way around with the pathfinding. Let's see if it works. And if it doesn't work, we will say, listen, lazy peon. We will strike it with a cudgel. There we go. So that's what I figured. Got it all nice and fixed up. After you've played Gnomoria for a little while, you start to get a feel for how all this stuff works. You start to get a general gist of how the whole thing tends to function. I'm going to go ahead and replace floors with stone floors of a marble variety all the way down like so. And I think I've got that lined up properly. That should take a little while. Not too long, though. I'm also going to remove the designation from the patrol area. And the next thing that I'd like to do is we're going to build a workshop down here. It's going to be a training grounds. And it's going to be, let's put a training grounds, I don't know, I kind of want to put a castle up here on the hill that will be like the center of military operations, but then at the same time that may hobble me with regards to getting to the military front in a timely sort of manner, so I may just put it right here for a little while. And just like hope that this works out, and we'll relocate it as time passes along, and as we start to get a feel for whether our strategy is working or not. Everything's looking pretty good in Nompton right now. I was really sort of concerned when I first started doing this LP that things were just going to fall apart on me. We're just going to have bad luck. And we have had a few streaks of bad luck. But they've been really, really limited in their scope, and they haven't been anything that hobbled me. For example, we haven't lost like our last woodcutter or anything, which can happen purely by accident every now and again. Based on invasions, sometimes you can just lose the wrong unit and have no replacement, and then you end up just in a world of hurt where you can't really remedy the situation. And so I'm glad that we haven't come across anything like that. We have had a wide distribution of gnomes. I do feel like they've touched up on that, actually. I do think we have a lot of miners, but the last time I played Gnomoria, I seem to remember never having enough of what I needed. And this time it seems as though the game is taking into account what you don't have and giving you what you do, which I think is kind of a cool feature. Got a couple more logs coming in right now. I don't know if we have enough birch clippings to redo the entire field, but I'm going to take my chances right there. And let's start thinking about what we want to build over on this side. I'd like to make some kind of workshop or something over here. Once we get this built, we'll tear this one down, and we'll also move all the bandage storage over here too, I think. Yeah, we'll do that, but let me build the terrain first. So we'll build the walls. What we'll do is we'll come right down to here, and we'll leave that as a gateway. Oh, and I missed that by one. But there it is. And so hopefully once this is done, I don't want our city to span the entire, like, range of the map. I think that would be a bit too much. But I wouldn't mind taking over a sizable chunk and kind of pipelining the enemies into the locations that I'd like them to be. Our building is going so rapidly at this point. Now that I've incorporated all the woodcutters into the construction labor force, I think this definitely has the propensity to go very, very rapidly. We'll deconstruct this right here. Let's take everybody off guard duty, so the farts are relieved for just a moment. Giggity. Well, that's not really a giggity, but that is kind of humorous. Being relieved of your farts is something that's probably not going to be unoffensive to the nostrils of your friends and family. But anyways, the farts are now relieved. because they've been given a new place to train. So they're going to come down here, and hopefully this will act as a little bit better of a forward defense against all of the enemies that we're going to be up against coming pretty soon. By the end of the 3rd year, I think we are going to be coming up against ogres and things of that nature. Ogres are a little bit worse. They have the tendency to break your gear a little bit better. What they do is they punch, and ogre punches are pretty good at sundering gear, which then leaves you open to exploitation by goblins with nasty little weapons. And so I'd like to have, realistically, what I'd like to do is have 2 groups of warriors now, where you'll have the farts and you'll have another group, and they'll alternate. So in the morning and in the evening, the farts will be on guard duty right here because their fighting skills are really high. And then at lunch, they'll be training, and then we'll have the opposite schedule for the other group. So morning and night, they'll be training, and then at lunch, they'll be on guard duty. And that'll allow them to square away and get a little bit better at fighting while leaving themselves a little bit of cover. I do think we're going to have to expand our military out fairly soon. I think a good idea might be to put some fencing in here as well. So basically what'll happen is this wall will cut inwards. Once we no longer have a use for this training field, what we'll do is we'll cut this wall inwards, and this will all be fenced right here. And we will station range troops along both sides, like 1 or 2 gnomes with rifles on each side. And then while they're fighting in the middle right here, the gnomes with rifles will be able to fire into the center of the melee. And once we're in that situation, I don't think the enemy's going to have a whole lot of chances to survive against us. I think we're going to do a very, very good job. Over here you will see that, who is this? He's being it's Tree Plant. Tree Plant is being a wonderful geologist, and he's sleeping with his stones. If you really want to unlock the secrets of the geosphere, you've got to sleep with stones by your side. I do it, but then again, those are my fire stones. So when I go camping, what I do is I put stones in the fire, and then I build a little pedestal inside my tent, and I put the boiling hot stones inside my tent, and it actually acts as like a mini heater. The tent, not very good at retaining heat, but if you're lucky enough and the rock is large enough, you should be able to have it emitting heat for a pretty good chunk of the night. Additionally, change your socks before you go to bed. If you're not an outdoorsy person, always change your socks before you go to bed. Don't sleep barefoot, but change your socks, because your socks retain a little bit of latent wetness. Even though they don't feel wet, they will. If you've been wearing them all day, they'll have a little bit of moisture in them, and your feet will freeze while you're sleeping. And so if you're sleeping in less than nominal situations, like 20 degrees or whatever, make sure that you change your socks before you go to bed at night, because those socks will be completely dry. At which point, the other thing is, if you've got to get up in the morning and it's super freezing, put your clothes in your sleeping bag with you. Another little secret trick right there. Put your clothes in the bottom of your sleeping bag while you sleep, and when you get up in the morning, your clothes will be nice and warm already, like your parka and everything else that you'll be wearing out into the frost and whatever. It'll all be nice and warm already. One of the major things that I always hated when I went camping when it was like 20 degrees, 25 degrees, was that when you got up in the morning, you had like a 10-minute period where you put on cold clothing and you were just freezing inside of all your snow gear. And I figured out that if you just well, I'm sure somebody else has come to this conclusion as well, but anyways, I started putting all my clothing in my sleeping bag with me. As an additional, it acts as stuffing. As an additional benefit, it acts as stuffing in your sleeping bag too, so that your sleeping bag stays warmer throughout the night. So there's that as well. After you spend a lot of time out in the wilderness, you start to become kind of a savant at figuring out all these weird little tips and tricks. I don't even use like hand warmers or anything else anymore. I just kind of you figure out all these weird little tricks, both by communication, like other geologists or other outdoorsmen or survivalists will kind of teach you these things. Various other things, like what plants you can eat, what other things, like what plants store moisture, you know, how to harvest a needle from an agave plant, just all kinds of random information and tidbits, just very, very like needle and thread from an agave plant. There's, you know, miner's lettuce, just what critters are edible and which ones aren't. Weird stuff that you pick up along the way as you spend more and more time just out camping and just being a beardy, hairy man out in the wilderness. Strange stuff. That being said, once I get back to the city, I'm absolutely worthless at any type of stuff around the house, like plumbing or carpentry, anything like that. If we're out in the middle of a forest, I'm a decent resource to have, but the second we get back to the house and something breaks, I'm like, well, we better call a plumber. Just simply no good at it. Although, once I get out of college, I have been planning on... My old man has this giant... It's like this megatome of home repair, because my dad is one of those classical dudes who knows how to fix like everything, from cars to plumbing to carpentry to anything else. It's like, how do you pick up all this knowledge? And I think it's just like dudes from back in the day, back when it was really, really expensive to hire repairmen and stuff like that, or just when people had less money, they just like know how to fix stuff, you know what I mean? Because it's cheaper. Oh, it's always cheaper to fix something yourself than it is to hire somebody to do it. And so they always have like these random tidbits of knowledge, and he's got like this repair tome. It's this giant book that's just filled to the gob with just how to fix everything you could ever imagine. And so I may go buy a copy of that and start fiddling around next time a sink breaks, just figure out how to fix it. Because I get bored a lot. I'm one of those people that's always bored and wants to learn new skills, so I may set out upon being a handyman once I get done with college. Especially since I'll have a little bit of extra time. I'm going to go ahead and do exploratory mining. Now that we've done a little bit of construction on the top level, we'll start with a bit more exploratory mining. The other thing that I'll do is I'm going to start getting them producing wall torches, so this doesn't take quite so long to get torches thrown around everywhere. Let me get to the proper layer here. And I think torches are crafted from here. And we're going to go down. We've got sticks. I probably went by it twice now. There it is. So torches, what I'd like to do with them is let's go ahead and craft torches to maybe like 10. I think that was what you guys had suggested. And we'll keep torches at 10 so that the job goes a little bit quicker. And we've got so many woodworkers right now that I have no doubt that that job's going to get done quickly. We have a bunch of coal because I just went through another layer where there was a bunch of it. I may also go to one of these top layers. I think I saw it just now. There it is. And we may actually kind of get some freebie coal right here so that we don't have to kill a whole bunch of our logs in order to get it. And so there it is. This should get us probably a good 30 or 40 coal if I know what I'm talking about, which I may not. There's a lot of situations in which I am poorly informed, and I always try and follow with the disclaimer because I don't like to be one of those guys on... There's a couple people on YouTube who are just like, I know everything about everything ever, and I will never admit that I'm wrong. Oh my god, we have another... Oh, our entire attack force is awake. This is going to be brutal for you goblins. Let's get on in here. And so the battle has taken place. A goblin is dead. A goblin is dead. That goblin has his armor broken and his arm chopped off. And now more goblins are dead. And so I think our military is proving their... Is it fecundity? I don't know if that's the word that I want to use. Anyways, I'm always having trouble remembering like the large words that I want to use. And in that case, it's probably pretty obvious that you just would be like, well, I used one of the smaller ones. Anyways, my army's proficiency at murder appears to be getting quite better. That goblin slaughter, that G slaughter, seems to be going very, very well for my nose. Let me find that lair. How much coal did we get out? Looks like the coal seam pretty much runs the breadth of this entire thing. So we should get a bunch of coal out of this, which makes me incredibly happy. Go, go, wheelbarrow. Those wheelbarrows almost look like little vacuums once they get going. Oh, good, and they've got us some more gemstones, too. So the other thing that I might additionally do is let's queue up a few more lovely rarities. So let's go for some gemmed necklaces. We can make 21. I'm going to use bronze bars on them, I guess. I mean, there's no point not doing it. And then what we'll do is we will go like 7 of those right now just to make sure that we have them over here. Let's go ahead and get some more bronze bars going. I know we have a bunch of copper laying around, so... Let's go ahead and craft those to maybe 45. I'm sorry, let's craft those to 50 just to get a little bit of extra labor running around. Butchery's happening over here. We're ending up with goblin skulls. That extra meat is going to keep us stacked on sandwiches for the foreseeable future, which would be really, really nice. Over here at the distillery, what were we producing? Oh, we've got plenty of drinks. Nobody's producing drinks at all. Alright, well, nothing to worry about there then. Let's go ahead and allow everybody their nappy poo time. I'm glad that the winter is almost halfway over. Our invasion didn't turn out to be that bad during this time. If they had attacked during a different period when everybody was sleeping, it could have been really, really bad. Luckily, we found ourselves a little bit better of a choke point. We have far fewer people running out into the middle of nowhere to grab random stuff, and so I think that's going to leave us in a good spot to break off the episode. My name is Splattercat. Thank you for joining me at the Nerd Castle for another episode here in Nompton of Gnomoria. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow in the next episode. Take care out there, everybody, and hi-do.